maritime injury attorney proudly serving the state of Texas. At Patrick Daniel Law, our Houston maritime injury lawyers are well equipped to handle difficult maritime injury cases that other Houston maritime law firms find too complex. Houston maritime injury law, also known as Admiralty law, has a lot of quirks and inconsistencies. It takes an experienced maritime injury attorney to be able to see these inconsistencies, and we find them every case that makes it to our Houston law office. Houston maritime workers are at a disadvantage in some maritime cases. In other maritime injury cases, they have some advantages in their favor. But only a skilled Houston maritime attorney will be able to figure it all out. So, whether you're in Houston, Harris County, Pasadena, Baytown or the outlying suburbs, if you've been injured at sea and are in need of a Houston maritime injury attorney, Patrick Daniel Law is here to help. Contact our Houston maritime lawyers for a free consultation. There are literally hundreds of maritime companies in Houston, and even though they claim to appreciate their employees and the sacrifices they make, you're only one fall on a slippery deck or one tumbling pallet of cargo in heavy seas from discovering how much or how little they truly do care. If you are injured at sea, don't assume your employer will compensate you fairly and make sure your medical bills are covered. Any one of a host of Houston maritime lawyers will quickly point out that the ball game changes drastically when an injury occurs. Not only that, but the rules are different for maritime employees and land-based employees. Defendants in maritime law cases try to hide behind the nuances of maritime law, hoping the injured party is not up to speed on them. For instance, workman's comp does not apply to injuries suffered while at sea. But thanks to the Federal Jones Act, maritime workers have the ability to sue their employers for compensation, and employers are held accountable to provide reasonably safe working conditions and to maintain their vessels so that they are safe and seaworthy. Working at sea, it's a different world out there. Houston maritime attorneys. Maritime lawyers in Houston are plentiful, and they know Admiralty law, maritime law, inside out, but experience is key. As an elite maritime injury lawyer, founder Patrick Daniel has litigated hundreds of maritime injury cases and has substantial recoveries for his clients. But this process requires more than a successful courtroom attorney. Maritime work is grueling, unforgiving and raw, and any Houston, Texas lawyer who aspires to represent maritime workers had better know the work as well as he knows the law. That's what sets Patrick Daniel Law ahead of other law firms in Houston, Texas. He knows the work. He grew in Louisiana and has 20 years' experience in litigating maritime cases, some of it from the other side of the courtroom. Houston Maritime Law. Houston is much more than oil and aerospace. A recent study showed that Houston, Texas is the number 2 city in the country for jobs connected to maritime through the moving of cargo between U.S. ports. Only nearby New Orleans has more workers in the maritime industry. When you add up the workers from all Texas ports, it puts Texas as the number 3 state in the U.S. in cargo transportation between American ports. The Port of Houston includes over 200 private and public terminals, handling over 8,200 seagoing vessels and 215,000 barges every year. Thousands of maritime employees call the Houston area home. It should come as no surprise, then, that there are a multitude of maritime injury cases in Houston. Maritime workers who are injured at sea do not have many of the recourses that land-based workers do, and often have to hire a maritime injury lawyer in Houston to protect their rights and help them recover losses that stem from their maritime injury. Jack-up rig accidents, deck accidents, tugboat accidents, oil platform accidents, barge accidents, commercial fishing accidents, cargo ship accidents, shipyard accidents. If you sustained a maritime injury in Houston similar to the above, and would like a free consultation with our Houston maritime lawyers, or to find out more about our Houston Maritime Law Services, please call 713-999-6666 or contact us online. Patrick Daniel is an icon among Houston maritime attorneys, gaining the distinction through 20 years of maritime law in Houston, Texas and around the Gulf Coast. Patrick Daniel has argued maritime injury cases from both sides and has extensive experience, not only in the way Houston maritime law cases proceed, but also in the work that goes on at sea by employees of hundreds of Houston maritime companies. Here is a short list of the types of Houston maritime injury cases he has handled in both Texas and elsewhere.